Hello, everybody. This is Amory Zanzel, and this is Coming Out and Beyond LGBTQIA plus Stories and Support. I am a lesbian and I am an ordained minister, and I am engaged to a fabulous woman. I live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I coach women through the coming out process later in life. I created this series because I believe that through stories and storytelling, we can learn, discover, and connect with each other. Hearing others' stories always brings us closer together. So, on my journey, I have had the opportunity to meet some amazing women that have also come out later in life. And one of these amazing women is here with me today, and her name is JoAnne Fox. Hello, JoAnne.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
Yeah. So, JoAnne and I met each other in a mutual support group that was online, and I have invited JoAnne here today to share her story. So, JoAnne, fill us in.
Hi. So I am now 59 years old. I live in Portland, Oregon. I guess I'm a serial monogamist. I was married 3 times to men over my lifetime up to this point. And when my first marriage was just a practice marriage. It was 3 years. It was a mistake. We should have just been friends.
Were you young? Were you young?
Yes, I was 21.
Yeah.
I've met. I'm still friends with him.
Yeah, I've met.
Still friends with my mom, and we just should have been friends, and we probably would have just separated as friends if the whole thing is so weird.
Well, I've met so many women that have had what we call practice marriages. They're always very young. Sometimes they're from the South a lot. I don't know if you're from the South,
No,
but I've met a lot of women that have gotten married between the ages of 17 and 22, and they call it their practice marriage.
So then I was married to the man who I had a child with. I have a 26-year-old daughter, Phoebe. And so I married Tom at 26. And, it was an okay marriage for a while, but he had problems with alcoholism. And I was unhappy in that marriage for quite a while, but he was a good dad. He was a good, I was like the breadwinner for the family with the good job with benefits. And he was like the Mr. Mom guy that got Phoebe to soccer practice and cooked most of the meals and helped me. Like, I went to college at night while I worked full time and got my degree and was able to advance my career. So I kind of was stuck in that marriage for a while and unhappy. And when I decided to get out of that marriage, I thought I might explore dating women because I belonged to a Unitarian Universalist church and I knew gay couples, and I was jealous of the lesbians. I secretly wanted to be in their club, but I had never had a crush on a girl. I thought women's bodies are beautiful and I like art. I always thought the female figure was so beautiful. And anyway, for years I talked with my friends and said, don't be surprised if I date women in the future. But when I got divorced from Tom, at the same time, my job relocated me, and the first day I showed up at work in the South, in the Charlotte area, I met a man who I had a good connection with, and we got married. So my third husband, I actually told him I was attracted to women, and we talked about it when we were dating, and he thought that was a turn on. He actually wanted to set me up with a woman for my 50th birthday. And I was like, ew. It has to be an organic thing, no, you can't buy me
That's
this
not going to happen.
experience.
No, I
And
understand.
besides, yeah, I would feel like that was cheating, you know? Um, I was afraid to try it because I was afraid that I would like it
Mm,
too much. Anyway, that marriage ended because he died.
mm,
And so when I was 54, I was single, and I was, for a year, I didn't do anything.
mhm,
But I I made a connection, and I had a wonderful first experience with a woman who was a friend from church, from this church camp that I go to. Um, we're still friends, actually. I
Was she,
knew,
I'm curious, was she someone who'd been out for a while or no?
yes, she
Okay.
had been, I guess she was someone who had been married to a man, had a child, but had been identified as lesbian and had been out lesbian for 20 some years,
Okay.
probably. You
Mhm.
know, when I met her, actually, I knew her, we were kind of friends. Both of us were going through the process of downsizing and getting ready to sell houses.
Mhm.
And so we had this in common. And anyway, I made a deal with her to have a summer fling. She didn't want to, she didn't want to be in a relationship.
Mhm.
She was getting ready to sell her house. She had bought an RV, and she was just going to travel around and live in this RV. And that was her dream that she'd been planning for years. And
Mhm.
so it wasn't, she was not in the market to have a girlfriend, and she didn't want to have a girlfriend when she went off on her adventure. So,
But I have a question for you.
yeah.
So a lot of times women who have their first lesbian relationship, it is so overwhelming, especially after you've been with men your whole life, because it's just different in a lot of ways. The emotional, sexual intimacy, all those things are different. Did that happen for you with your first relationship?
Oh, yes, I fell head over heels for her.
Yes. Yeah.
And that was the problem. I was so happy. It was wonderful. I did not have a lot of the obstacles that people might have, where like I didn't have to bust up a marriage, you
Mhm.
know. There was no, I was a free agent.
And
I
your
didn't
daughter
have
was
children
older.
at home. My daughter was on her own, living in a different state. So there were no like roadblocks
Mhm.
in that way for me. And
Mhm.
um, my friend really encouraged me to get out there and meet people and date. She really wanted me to meet my special someone. I
Mhm.
was stuck on her though.
Mhm. Mhm.
So that part was hard because I really did have
Well, you
deep feelings for her. And for years we were like on again, off again. Well, she never wanted to be in a committed relationship. So
she
she
said
would say, we're just dating.
mhm,
And so we dated on and off. When she was in town, we would get together.
yeah.
So for years, I was on and off with her, stuck on her, but she was unattainable. She's also an avoidant attachment style person.
Person, yeah. Right.
So,
Well,
so
the
yeah, yeah,
the
that
fir
part was hard
yeah,
because I was just like, oh, I had such
deep feelings
feelings.
for her, right.
It
Well,
was
we
hard. Yeah, it was like so painful for
and
me.
and in our community, we often talk about a catalyst, and so, even though you like, so sometimes people have catalysts, and, like, some women just, like, they fall in love with a woman, they're married, and it just, like, blows them away. You, on the other hand, went into this relationship with, like, full knowledge of the parameters and stuff like that, and yet you were still blown away because our catalyst is that person that just opens this part of us that has either been dead or denied or unacknowledged,
Yeah.
and so it's interesting how everybody has those experiences with the first same-sex partner. And ironically, the men I talk to, it's the exact same thing. That's how they talk about it, like the same language that we use too. So keep going. I just wanted to get some information so
Oh,
people
no, no,
see.
no, it's good. So she encouraged me to try to meet people, date people, and
Mhm,
I approached this like I have to learn how to be a lesbian. I went, and it was hard for me because I'm an introverted person.
mhm,
It's not hard for me to socialize when I know people, but for me to go to a bar alone, um, it was so uncomfortable for me. But I pushed myself and I went to meet up things in town. This was before COVID, of course. And I started to get to know people in the community and sort of got a little friend network going, which was nice. And um, for a
important.
long time, I really, really wanted to be in a committed relationship. And I had my experience right before COVID. I met a woman and we did the U-Haul thing. She moved right into my condo.
Mhm,
And at first, it was great being in the quarantine time with somebody.
mhm,
That was really fun.
mhm,
But after a few months, I realized that our differences were greater. We were less compatible than I originally thought. And it was something that just wasn't working for me. So
mm,
I'm glad I had that experience though, because I got it out of my system.
mhm,
I was afraid that I was going to get attached to somebody who wasn't a good match for me just because I was so wanting that experience,
mhm,
of having a partner.
mhm,
But having the wrong partner was not a great experience, and I quickly realized this wasn't the one.
mhm.
So now I'm not as, I don't know,
Anxious about that?
yeah, I don't feel desperate about it. I'm just like, when the time is right, it's gonna be right, and I have faith that I will meet my person.
Mhm,
Future, maybe it's gonna be when I move to Asheville.
mhm, mhm,
That's totally fine, and I'm actually appreciating my alone time,
mhm, mhm,
um, and I I have a lot of friends that I have met through this, online late in life, group. Uh,
mhm,
I had the wonderful experience of going to an in-person conference that
mhm,
was held in Nashville, and I connected with some other ladies that we didn't know each other. We were from all different states and places, and we went in together on a big Airbnb house. There were 9 of us, and we
mhm,
have continued well, most of us have continued in contact with each other, just checking on each other. And we've had some get togethers in some of our cities. I tried to have one in Portland this summer, but we had to cancel it for
mhm,
COVID. Anyway,
mhm,
I call that group the Nashville 9 group. And
mhm,
it's been so beneficial
mhm,
to support each other. Also, this big online group. Um, I feel like I have made friends virtually with people. It's been a wonderful experience to have all that support and then to feel like a wise one now that I've been
You've
forced
been doing this a while.
in.
It's
I
been
can
like
like
4 years.
advise other people who are just coming. I was able to like introduce some people into this group, and it helped them so much. So
Right.
it's just a wonderful thing to be able to talk to other people who can
Mhm.
understand what you're going through.
Well, this experience, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a very
Another
unique
thing I did
experience.
yeah, another thing I did that was really beneficial, um, I retired this summer, but when I was working in a corporate environment, I volunteered to be in the employee resource group, and I became an officer in the LGBTQ plus employee group at my workplace. And that was a really good experience too.
Mhm,
It
mhm,
wasn't exactly outing myself, but I didn't say I'm gay. I didn't say I'm an ally. I don't know. I like to keep people guessing.
Yeah. Have
But
you have you come out? I mean, like, a lot of times people really struggle with the whole how do I come out and who do I come out to and all that. Did you do any of that stuff or
I have never come out on Facebook,
but beyond
I
Facebook? I
think
mean,
it's fairly obvious if people are paying attention that I would post things like, oh, I'm doing this thing for my LGBTQ employee group, and I would have pictures at Pride, and I would post, like, oh, it's National Coming Out Day. I didn't
mhm,
say I'm coming out, but
mhm,
like, I don't hide it, but yet if I were in a committed relationship that I wanted to tell the world about, I would definitely come out on Facebook and say, I love this woman.
mhm.
Um, being that I don't have that experience yet, I don't feel the need to.
So, but let me ask you, did you tell your like I know that you didn't the grace in all of this for you is that you didn't have to you didn't have to get divorced. Like did you tell your daughter or did you
Oh,
just
yeah. Oh,
oh,
yes. I told my family, and
mhm,
I've told my friends, but
mhm.
I don't feel like I need to make a public announcement on social
Yeah,
media.
and I wasn't actually talking about social media. I was actually talking about like how did you tell people in your life and stuff like that? Like, your family and your friends and stuff.
Yeah, I
And was
told
it
my mom. Yeah,
was it
and
easy?
I was kind of disappointed because my mom, she I guess she can't really believe that it's true for me, and she keeps saying like, "Oh, well, maybe you'll meet a nice man."
How does
Like,
that
well, you
feel for
can't
you?
rule that out, right? And I guess I can't rule that out, but now that I've had some relationships with women,
Mhm,
I don't see myself wanting to be in a romantic relationship with a man again.
mhm. How
But
does it how does
it,
it feel for you? How does
what's
it
up?
how does it feel for you when you hear your mom say that? Because that happens to people a lot. So, like,
Well,
what
yeah,
goes
it
inside of
hurts
you?
me. It
Yeah.
hurts me. And when I was young, my younger brother was gay. He was an effeminate young boy. So when he was young and he came out, my mom said, "I love you. Um, I'm proud of you, but I don't want to meet your lovers." And that was so hurtful to my brother.
Mhm,
My mom, she didn't realize how painful that was for him.
mhm.
So I feel a little bit like she's repeating that.
Yeah, you think she would
Although,
have learned.
yeah,
Yeah,
I think she's just, I don't know.
yeah.
She's fine. She loves me. She's proud of me. She wants me to be happy.
Mhm, mhm.
So,
Joanne, you mentioned something that sometimes people aren't familiar with. Like if you're in the queer community, you know exactly what you mean. But can you talk about what U-hauling means? Sometimes people don't understand that.
oh yes, U-hauling. So immediately moving in with someone that you just started dating, you don't know them very well, and one just moves into the other person's place.
Well, yeah, and it's often, I mean, and it's particularly towards for lesbian women, people make jokes about it and everything like that. But there's some real reasons why people quote unquote U-Haul. So like I think of you and you probably would have taken if COVID wasn't starting, you probably would have taken time to meet and get to know this woman and be like, okay, she's not the one for me. But because you had certain constraints on you. So I think about women, sometimes U-Haul because of economic concerns, like, you're dating this woman, you're, 2 months in or a month in, and you're both living separate apartments. And so women inherently make less money than men. So they combine resources and move in quickly. So a lot of times people I find judge people because they U-Haul, but there's some real economic reasons why people do those things, right? And you had a pandemic, like the
Yeah, my
tidal
reason
wave of the
was
pandemic.
the pandemic, and I live in an
Very expensive
intentional
area.
community.
Yeah.
Well, I live in a co-housing community,
Oh,
so
that's great. Yeah.
for my my girlfriend moved in, and then she, we had to be like, I was really worried about if her behavior, if she went out and wasn't careful, she could bring COVID into my community. So
It
when
was
things
stressful.
started going sideways with that relationship, I was feeling like, oh my God, what did I do? You know,
Mhm, mhm.
um,
Well, it's a live and learn.
yeah, it's fine. I'm glad to have my place back.
Yeah.
Happy actually, she made my place feel like home, being
Mhm,
here with me, and it, I don't know, it gave me some satisfaction that I designed the space well and that two people could comfortably live in here. It's a small condo, but it was fun. It was fun in the beginning of the whole quarantine period, and it was just when it was her and I one on one.
mhm,
It was good.
mhm.
We like to cook together and do things together like outside, but honestly, it didn't turn out to be a good
Good.
sexual connection. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you know what? I get it. Here's a term, the um, lesbian deathbed.
A bed death. Mhm,
Okay. Okay.
mhm,
Yeah. So it didn't turn out to be like that sexual, but
mhm.
we were like companions. We were like cuddly, but um, in a new relationship, I would have expected more,
More
but
passion.
it's fine because it didn't turn out to be a good connection for
Well, and
both.
I think, what I'm hearing too, in a help in a way, because you didn't have that intimate connection with her that you've had with other people, it was easy to make the decision to say, okay, this isn't working out, right?
Yeah.
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 I have a quick question. So I know many of the women in the Nashville Nine. They're pretty awesome. What has that group done for you? Um, and how have you supported each other? And a lot of times when people are coming out later in life, they're very, very worried about finding a girlfriend. That's like the number one thing. And I really like to say to people, find your friends first, find your community, because when you break up, if you and that girlfriend happen to break up, she is often your tie to your sexual identity. And so when you find a community first, even if it's a couple people, it's really nice to have. And so tell me about that friendship, and what do you guys
Oh,
do,
it's
and
just
how do
so,
you
yeah.
support each other?
Well, it's just so fun. We just check in with each other and say what's going on and kind of share jokes or I don't know, we just will,
Lesbian humor.
yeah, yeah, silly things. And I'd say about half of the women in that group had like zero experience with another woman, and some of them had already had experience being with a woman. So we kind of joke with each other and check in about like some of the women that really wanted to have their first experience. Um, I don't know. They did this. There's a joke about a toaster oven. Do you know this
Yeah.
joke?
Hmm.
All right,
Hmm.
something about like if you
Yeah, when you
if a
like,
lesbian
it's from
like
Ellen.
gets another person to, you know,
They get the toaster oven. It's from that episode of Ellen when she comes out.
right, so you
Yeah.
win a toaster oven or something. Well, these girls have started saying something about that. It's throwing their oven toaster away. And I'm like, you guys have it backwards. It's like, but they're like, I'm not going to toss my toaster for this one.
No, guys, the metaphor is wrong. No.
I know it's so
Um,
wrong, but it's just what it's our thing now.
so
Toaster tossing.
so as these women have had this group of friends that they're friends with, you said a lot of them hadn't slept with anybody yet. Has they have the as the I think it's been like a couple of years since that conference happened.
It's
Has the ratio gone? Meaning, have people had experiences, and have you guys been like cheering them on and really happy for them and such?
Yes, some of that has happened, and
Mm-hmm.
some are still waiting for their toasters.
Not
You know,
the
it's hard. Like some people live in areas that are not close to a place
obscene.
where other lesbians are. So for some people, it's super hard with, trying to meet other women. If you don't,
Mm-hmm.
like, I feel so lucky that I live in a city
Mm-hmm.
where there's a lot of other lesbians. So you can try to date,
Mm-hmm.
but if you live in a place that's rural, I guess, it must
In
be
the
hard.
middle of Kansas, it can be really hard to meet somebody.
So we share, our online dating disasters with each
Mm-hmm.
other. And
Mm-hmm.
we also share stuff like, oh, hey, I'm doing this remodeling project. Look at what I did. And
Mm-hmm.
people are like proud, showing off what they've done. And we've actually talked about going around and staying at each other's houses when it's safe to actually work on projects together in
Mm-hmm.
people's homes.
Well, yeah, it's become, I mean, that was your common thread in the beginning, but now you have such a friendship that has, yeah, that's like sort of, it's how you all met, but you're friends because of other reasons now.
Mhm.
And they're your first, what is the word? Your first gang or your first posse.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
it's
have you find it helpful to have this group of friends?
oh, it's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so great. And
And
I have other groups of friends too, but actually we got off of we were routinely calling each other on a Zoom call on a regular basis every 2 weeks, but we got out of whack. And two of the people in this group are school teachers, and their lives are just upside down with COVID and trying to teach online. And also, they have children. So we also are just kind of supporting each other and trying to help each other get through. And,
mhm,
if somebody's having a bad day, reach out and say, hey, I could use you know, some moral support here, and people will,
mhm,
call out.
mhm.
It's fun. It's great. It's really, really good.
So I want to thank you for sharing your story. And I have a couple of questions to end us today. Do you have a coming out song?
Um, I I can't think of a specific song, but there's one. It's Brave
Mhm.
by Sarah Bareilles.
Oh, I know what that. I think that's it. I know which song you mean.
Yeah, I love that song. So
Mhm, mhm. That's a great song. So how about a book or a movie that you've seen or watched, or excuse me, read or watched that really had changed your perspective on something?
um I don't. Well, I really like Brene Brown and vulnerability. So it's not specifically lesbian, but
Yeah, it's funny because the last person I had on mentioned Brene Brown. So I think, I think that she speaks to vulnerability. And as like I said, is that this coming out journey is when you're older, is for some of us, there's a lot of fear involved. But
mhm,
speaking, being vulnerable is what it's about, is about sharing yourself to other people and risking vulnerability and for sort of true knowledge of who you are and how you exist in the world, and it really changes your perspective on a lot of things.
I forgot to mention something that I
Oh,
wanted
sure.
to say
Sure.
about
Good.
my whole journey. At the beginning of this, I discovered a process, soul collage.
Oh,
Have you
that's right. Yeah.
So, like, I have all these cards, and I can send you some pictures of the cards, but like this is one of them
That you made.
that I made. There, a lot of the cards that I made helped me figure out um, who I was, and it's
Hmm.
like parts of me. So having a process like that, you do journaling. It's it's been really, really great for
Are you,
me to figure out who I am.
mhm. And you're a so collage facilitator, right?
I
Okay.
am a facilitator, and I don't actively lead workshops at this point, but it does actually translate really well to Zoom. It's something
Mhm.
that I could think about doing in the future. If I have people interested, I could send them images and supplies, and they could make the cards, and then we could do readings
Mhm. So
over.
what I'll do is at the end of this podcast, I'll put contact information up of what
Sure.
Soul Collage is and also how you can contact with JoAnne if you're interested in doing it, because I'm sure she'd be happy to help you. So last thing, um, what's the best part of your life? Best part about, let me rephrase that. What is the best thing about your life right now?
Well, that I've been able to evolve into who I am, and I'm really proud of who I am, and learned to love myself, and I have flexibility and freedom to go where I want and do what I want.
Mhm,
It's I feel really comfortable in my skin.
mhm. Well, thank you. That's a wonderful answer. And I really appreciate you sharing your story and coming in on today and talking to me. It was nice to hear because the couple of women I've had on before, one, I knew her story very well, but like people that I've met over the years, but I didn't know your backstory so well. So it was really nice to hear it, JoAnne. So thank you. Thanks for your vulnerability and courage. I really appreciate it.
It's great. Thank you.